Another form of cigarette that's been dominating the headlines recently, that's vaping. And now, vaping is a huge income generator for Malaysia. We are called the second largest vape liquid producer. This is Malaysia. And with some quarters calling the ban of vaping, thus far we have heard the Health Ministry say that it will not ban vaping, but the sale of nicotine will be done by pharmacists and medical practitioners. Now, on the health aspects point of view, does vaping help smokers quit smoking? And is vaping even considered something that's healthy? Because we have, again, conflicting reports. Some say vaping is okay, some say vaping is not. Now, joining me to clear the air, I have two doctors who have joined me earlier on, Dr. Helmi and Dr. Raja. I also have Samsul Kamal Arifin, who's just joined us. Now, he's the president of MOVE, Malaysian Organization of Vape NTT. Now, Samsul has been a smoker for 25 years and a vapor for 3 years. Good morning, Samsul.
Good morning to you.
So, you have been very busy, I suppose. People are calling you because of all these headlines that have been dominating news.
Like you can imagine.
Now, tell us, Samsul, just go back to your smoking history. Now, 25 years of smoking, that's a very long time.
That's right.
How bad was your smoking? How addicted were you?
I'm glad that we are talking about topic of to quit smoking today, because I managed to quit smoking and I was smoking for 25 years.
How many packets a day
were
you smoking?
About a box a day.
About a box a day.
And interestingly enough, I quit smoking the first day I started vaping.
Did you have an intention to quit?
Of course.
What was your intention?
Because it was affecting my health.
Okay, so you knew, what were you seeing?
I was having chest pain, and I was not able to lift my son up, because of stamina issues. And I guess it's quite obvious that smoking is detrimental to health. I think if you check on the box, it stated that there's a warning.
And pictures as well.
Yeah, right,
they are very disturbing pictures.
Right,
yes.
Right.
Okay, so you mentioned that vaping on the first day kind of reduced your addiction problem to cigarettes.
Not reduced. I stopped totally within 24 hours.
Okay, so you were looking to gradually stop smoking. Is that what you were looking at? Is that what your aim was?
I wanted to stop smoking totally.
Right.
So then, allow me to say this. There's been a lot of talk about vape of late. And especially there seemed to be a selective demonization of vape in the media, talking about a few things, namely about formaldehyde, and also about a drop of sperm count, and also about it being used for bombing of corpses, and also about it causing cancer and death. I would like to ask, for those who are actually coming up with these statements, unfortunately came up from Ministry of Health, where are the basis of these statements from?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously there are, for what we have done the research on, Bella, there are inconclusive reports, even on the medical side, on what vaping and the dangers of vaping are, because at the moment there's just not enough research and survey that's been done.
Well,
now,
allow me to share with you a few
Before you go on, Samsul, we actually put our cameras out to the streets to ask people their thoughts on the act of vaping. Let's just take a look at this.
I think it's no harm about vaping. It's a fashion right now, but this is a very sensitive issue. As long as you know your limit, as long you have fun, so you just enjoy it.
I don't really know much about vaping because at the first place I don't smoke, so I've never smoked, so I've read a little bit about it and I think it sounds safe, but then again, we don't really know, do we?
Honestly, I think vaping is no harm to it, because I've done all my research and there is no specific research that says vaping is actually harmful to the body, not as thorough and specific as cigarettes. You know what cigarettes can do to you. So in that sense, I think we're a society that's still learning more about vaping, but so far, so good. So I think vapers are doing it okay, but the only problem is it's quite expensive. And it's an expensive hobby, and if you want to kick your habit of smoking through vaping, it's going to be a longer process, I feel.
I think nicotine is never safe. A lot of people's justification for vaping is because you cut out the tar, but nicotine is just as bad because it's addictive. I will not be one to judge because, everyone's got their vices and all that, but if you ask me, Tar is bad for your body, so is nicotine.
Unnecessary, like cigarettes. I don't think it's something that everyone needs. I don't think there's a purpose to it. Holding something that is that big in your bag and carry it around and smoke it inside of the building, for me, the act itself is disrespectful. So it's my strong opinion that vaping is a major no-no.
I don't smoke, and then I legit will smoke. Vaping for me, it's okay for me. I can stand it. It's better than people smoking beside me. So I'm cool with it. Yeah, I'm cool with it. Yeah, it smells nice. Okay.
So you have very conflicting reports. Also, people's opinion on what vaping and the act of vaping. Now, medically, what happens, or what is the constituent in a vape liquid, doctor, as opposed to a cigarette?
I think that the clips that you showed are actually very useful because it just demonstrates how much confusion there is and how much people don't really know. And as a result, like you quite correctly pointed out, some people go overboard with the dangers. Yeah? Right. Excuse me. In theory, this is an excellent tool because you have the potential, and I repeat here, the potential as a harm reduction tool.
Okay.
The problem we have is there is no way to say for sure that what you are taking in an e-cigarette is safe because there's no quality standards to it. So you don't really know. Yes, we know there are four main components inside the juice. So it could quite literally be made in the backyard of someone's house.
Right,
yep?
okay.
You don't know what's in it.
So it's a production method. You need
exactly.
a standard of quality.
Exactly.
Okay.
So for example, one has been comparing e-cigarettes to methadone. So the way you would give a heroin addict methadone to try and get them off the addiction is the same way you would want to approach e-cigarettes.
Right.
However, if we were to use the same sort of analogy, then what you're doing today is you're telling the cigarette smoker to go get your methadone from the drug dealer down the street without any real A, psychological support to get away from the addiction, and B, quality control to ensure that what you're getting is the true product.
Yes.
So I agree totally that we have a potential here to get to a point where we can harm reduce, but at the moment it's not quite there yet.
So it's not regulated in a sense that you have this quality assurance and quality control to the type of vape liquid.
That's right.
Now, vape liquid, in terms of its nicotine content, is it lesser than a pack of cigarette, or just 1-to-1 ratio? What is it? What does it stand, doctors?
Good. So studies have shown that they vary.
Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you can also measure the amount that you actually vape in, yeah?
Right.
Right.
Depending on the machine that you have, the generation that you have. I think it's up to 5 generations now, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, so it's different content of
different
nicotine.
content, different amounts of concentration. One problem I also personally have as a physician is the fact that nicotine on its own is poisonous. 2 weeks ago, I had a patient come to me who was having some difficulty breathing. And he was telling me how each time he took a puff of his e-cigarette, he could feel the liquid seeping into his mouth.
Right.
And that's quite dangerous because you could literally die from overdose of nicotine.
Right.
Which once again goes back to quality control, ensuring that things are done appropriately. And if you look at things worldwide, there are also increasing concerns about children going across because e-cigarettes, once again, if they're being used appropriately, I can totally appreciate it because I think philosophically we are all on the same page here. We want people to stop smoking because at the end of the day, the big enemy is tobacco.
Tobacco,
Yeah.
because so in terms of vaping and cigarettes, vaping is less harmful because you're saying nicotine varies, but is nicotine the only bad guy that we're up against?
In e-cigarettes, you mean?
Yes.
No, because you have all these other things that we don't really know about, A.
Okay, all right.
And secondly, my concern, and one of the concerns many medical professionals have, to the point where we released an open letter to Parliament last week, 40 medical bodies and NGOs, the concern is we might be undoing all the efforts we have made against the tobacco industry. So you look at the way some e-cigarettes are being marketed. You've got colors, you've got flavors that are going to attract children, going to attract the youth. You have magazines with women in bikinis which are extremely demeaning to women, and it's basically sexualization for the purpose of marketing. And these are the individuals who are giving people like Shamsul a bad name because he wants to help smokers.
Right.
And I'm sure he's doing all he can to improve things to the point where we all come to an agreement, a consensus.
All right.
But at the same time, you've got all these shenanigans going on.
Yes.
How do we deal with that?
That's true, that's true. So again, it needs a regulated industry on this one. Now, Dr. Raja, can you just tell us also, is there a bad effect to secondary smokers with e-cigarettes? Because we know cigarettes, secondary smoking is harmful.
I think there is. Basically, you don't need anything else but oxygen when you inhale, really.
Right.
Okay, and it's shown that every time you inhale something, not everything is absorbed. About 30% of what you inhale is exhaled again. So depending on what's in that, you're still inhaling it. But in the longer run, I think the effect of vaping as such is not only to the health of to the individuals as such, but the other things are like you said just now, is the possible of it being a poison to kids, for example. You know, there's 3,000 related nicotine poison in the US last year, causing one death, for example. And we are also worried that these e-cigarettes can be used as a tool to give synthetic drugs.
Okay, so we never know
inside.
what's happening in somebody's backyard, if they are doing it illegally or just whatever means they want to include or add in.
Yeah, now, and I think also we need to understand, I think Shamsul agrees with me that he's in it because he wants to stop smoking, right? And you are in it because you want other people to stop smoking. You are against people trending for it to be. You don't want people just because it's a trend.
That's right.
You're not into all that, right? I totally agree that it's a very good harm reduction tool, but until we have regulation and more studies to be done, evidence, I think,
That's good, that's good. Now, I've spoken to some people, even our makeup artist in this room here, in our studio here. Now, she managed to stop smoking because of vape, and vape has helped her, and now she's not even relying on vape. Sometimes she goes days without having her vape tools off. She can go to work without even bringing it, because I think that nicotine addiction has finally stopped. So now she just waits for the habits, and it's just very occasional in a week. Now, for you, Shamsul, your story is how addicted now to you to vaping since that you have stopped smoking?
All right. Before I answer that, I think there are a few issues that I should address coming out from two doctors just now, if I may.
Sure.
Number one was the mention about the danger of nicotine and it being as a poison. Generally speaking, most vapers vape at around 6 mg nicotine per 30 ml. And the threshold level for it to be a poison is about 60 ml. Nobody vapes at 60 ml. Again,
so it's only 10% of it.
Yeah, so these are actually evidence-based. It's not just from something that we hear or rumor. So then that clearly states that the nicotine content in vape, e-liquids, even if you were to vape and if you were to accidentally have a drop of it on your tongue, it shouldn't lead to poison.
We hope so.
Is that the same for children?
No, of course this is not for children.
Yes, but if you have electronic cigarettes on the table and some kids were to take it.
Well, you can't blame vape for that. You have to blame the caretaker. May I use an analogy about accidents, for instance?
With cigarettes as well, right?
Yeah, I mean car accidents. Malaysia have the highest number of fatality on the roads. Are you blaming cars for it? Let's be fair.
That's a point there. Now, that's your story?
Yeah. Then number two, about drug-laced liquids. Again, I need to clear the air because we don't have many opportunities for us to actually speak to the public. And all the public is reading on the newspaper is about how bad it is. Now, coming back to drug-laced liquids, let's look at it scientifically. THC, or the active ingredient in any drugs that makes you high, it carries a non-polar molecular structure. PG and VG, which is the content in e-liquids, propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin, carries a non-polar molecular structure. Both of these structures cannot be solvent together. What I'm trying to say is that you cannot mix drugs with the e-liquid. It will simply not work.
Right.
Yeah, it will not work unless you use a method that is called iso extraction. You need to be a rocket scientist to do that, you know.
Right.
So then again, all these stories about vape being drug-laced, being poisoned by nicotine, let's look at the facts and the evidence based on this.
Can I interrupt with some facts?
Yes, sure. Can we just keep it very short because we're down to very little time?
Fine. So very quickly, we're not talking about mixing drugs into the e-liquids. I totally agree with you. That's quite physically impossible.
That's right.
But you can use the device. And if you, in fact, CNN had a documentary recently about the increasing use of amphetamines with e-cigarettes in Florida.
Okay.
That's an issue in Hawaii because they've been using cough syrups. So it's not about the juice itself that's being mixed. It's about the device and the way that you can actually take drugs without being detected.
This is the issue in America. Apparently, this is not what is happening here in Malaysia. What has been going on in Malaysia, or what you have been reading in news, is that they said that in the e-liquid itself there are drugs in it. This is the issue. What's happening in Florida, in what we have seen in CNN, I totally agree. This is a new development.
Can we all agree on one point though, that the industry is not regulated enough? That we don't know, as you say, the shenanigans behind who are developing some of this vapor liquid. You know, could be in their garage, could be, you know, and so we need a regulated industry and some standard, so that we know that every vape liquid is safe for people's consumption. Okay, all right. Now, can we just come back to your story, Shamsul, of how you use vape to help you quit cigarette? Because a lot of people here, that is in conjunction with health awareness, lung awareness month, and so to help people and inspire people to gradually quit. What was your story of success here?
I was curious as to what vape was. This was about 3 years ago, and I contacted a friend because I keep on seeing him posting it on Facebook. So I contacted him, and he came and see me, and he put all his devices on the table, and I was trying it one by one. And I found that if this thing can actually help me to quit smoking, if it helps me to quit smoking, and if I were to vape and I get the same sensation after I have lunch, for instance, then I would carry on to vape. And fortunately enough, after 24 hours of trying it, I managed to quit smoking totally. And I have not touched a cigarette. I can't even smell the smoke of cigarette nowadays. But then at the same time, interestingly enough, the nicotine content that I am taking now has gradually dropped as well.
Okay.
I started off by 12 mg. Now I'm taking it at 9. After that, it was at 6. Now I'm really more or less around 6 to 3 mg. So you can see that the concern about nicotine being addictive, you know, can't be justified when most of us, this is not unique to me alone, most of us who have been vaping for more than 2 to 3 years are actually gradually taking the nicotine content.
Do you intend to quit nicotine for good?
Of course. Ideally,
really?
I wouldn't want to smoke, and I wouldn't want to vape. And I think to sum it up, just in a minute here, I think for us vapers, we see it as a solution. For non-smokers, they see it as a problem. I think what we need to achieve is to find a meeting point where both parties have to empathize and understand where they are coming from. I totally see their concern about vaping. I totally see it. This is why we need to regulate it. We need a tested product, and we need a product that is safe.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So, doctors, before we round up this conversation here, your input on vaping to help smokers quit, and also should vaping be something that we should ban?
I think the first thing we should be aware of is there are also other forms of support to help someone quit smoking. So like the things we mentioned before with regards to psychological support, nicotine replacement therapy, drugs like Champix. So those things have lots and lots of evidence base behind them, lots and lots of papers to prove that they work, and we need to approach the individual holistically and need to see what drives them, because otherwise we are in danger of substituting one form of addiction for another.
Right, okay, all right. Dr. Raja?
Yeah, I think I totally agree with that. More research needs to be done in terms of what are the, if there are any effects with regards to long-term vaping as such. This has with no numbers with regards to that. But again, I totally agree. We don't want one substitute of one problem to be another problem. But at the same time, we can't just close our eyes and say this is not good. There is potential here, as you can see. There are a lot of people who smoke.
So it's another medium to help smokers quit smoking eventually, and that's again leading to something healthy, which is a healthy lifestyle.
Correct, but it needs to be regulated, because even now there are people who don't smoke and starts to go to who don't do anything at all. They vape, and then it's on the other way around now.
Right. So as Dr. Helmi says, we have other methods. So do you think we should engage other methods before we try vaping, or should this be open to individuals? Whatever suits you best.
If we're going to go by evidence, we go by what works for sure on paper. And if I can just end very quickly, one of my favorite phrases from literature, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. We need to be very careful. The intention is good, the potential is there, but we have to be very, very careful.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Samsol, for sharing your story and your input. Thank you, doctors, for sharing your input on the medical side. What we can sum up here is that there are just inconclusive reports and evidence on the efficacy and also the health aspect and the safety aspect of vaping until more comes out. And also we agree that the industry should be regulated so we have a quality product. And smoking as a vice is something that we should encourage people to stop, because again, it's all about health and wellness. And we hope that this has inspired you in some ways to lead you to your path.